Welcome to episode 22 of the Buried in the Bones podcast. Move, think, endure. And what does onwards really mean? A lot of us, a lot of people are out there searching for answers for the sake of, for the reason because they feel stuck. And I have been there. I could be there currently if I sat down with myself long enough and explored that. But what has caused me to, or you, or others, to stop moving, thinking, and enduring? What's the rationale? You know, almost like they're buried in hesitation, if you will. And so, onwards. The way out. How you can think, move, endure, and have the mindset to say this word. And it presents something in your life that's meaningful. So, I reckon we'll just talk about what this episode is about. So, what is this episode about? Well, I think first and foremost, I'm not a motivational pep talker. I feel like I am honest, reasonable, and curious most of all. And the purpose of this is to take my experiences, knowledge base, and things that I've learned, reciprocate that information in a way that is tangible and useful. And really, this is a podcast for people who are indeed curious on how to move better, be healthier, think better, and perhaps get a little bit closer to themselves. Mind, movement, meaning, right? So, onwards isn't really a, man, when I say it, it's not a mindset. It's almost like, I put up my Instagram captions a lot, but I found this word, man, when I was kind of lost, and I read this book, and the whole book was about changing this idea that the mindset needs to change, and more so getting in the habit of making reasonable choice. And that choice is not, we're not saying onwards is the mindset, it's the action. The choice of saying onwards. So we're going to break it down and how that kind of translates to the human body. Of course, how that translates to the mentality, and then if we're lucky, how that can get us a little bit closer to the spirit and some meaning. So, I reckon we should kick it off. So, movement. I mean, by nature, onwards is movement, right? If you say onwards, that probably means you have progression. So, how does it work? I talk about this a lot, or I talk about it a lot, like the nervous system, and how complicated it can be. How many people are, it's interesting actually. It's so complicated, but so simple. Keep it simple, stupid, right? KISS. What our nervous system needs and what our body needs is rhythm, and in order to get that rhythm, we have to make conscious choice of putting meaning behind the movement, right? So when we train, when we wake up and we don't want to, we have to make the conscious choice anyways to say, well, I have to get off this couch, onwards, right? But even if we took it a step behind, if we took like a few steps back and just categorically broke down or this made sense of what movement actually is, it's really just being alive. If you can move, then you are living. And the act of living alone is courageous. How can we live better? How can we move more? How can we do this thing? And I've referenced this book before, but The Body Keeps the Score. I think his name was Bessel van der Kolk, I think. Bessel van der Kolk. And our movement, the nervous system, how we move, how fluid our movements are, how we can craft ourselves and be limber and go about our lives, it shows what choice we've been making, I suppose. The reason why we lose mobility and flexibility and all these things is because our conscious action has been stagnant. And so maybe a little bit of the mindset of feeling the burdens of life and having to just take a step forward and be like, this is what's going on. However, I'm going to make this conscious choice and present this action of going into the weight room, stepping outside, moving a little bit, stretching a little bit, going to yoga maybe. Whatever your practice is, gets the heart rate up and move. You can tell human beings in general, you can tell who has not made the conscious action of saying onwards. We're just making conscious action, period, right? Your body kind of knows when it's checked out, and everyone can visually see based on how that person moves if they've been checked out. We've seen it all before, but it's like if we're looking for like health, right? It wouldn't surprise you if I told you like 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes per day has found significant health increases in cognitive clarity. And that was from some study in 2017. But everyone has this idea, and this is what I'm getting at, the physical expression of onwards. How does it translate and why does it improve? Like, how does it help us? Okay, well, 10 minutes of movement improves your mood and cognitive clarity, meaning like you feel better and you think better. What people expect is to feel like they want to do it. Or they feel like they need to rest, or they feel like they'll wait for the perfect moment to get out there and go train or go move. I mean, in reality, if we think about it, it's like we never had weights as human beings. We just had life. And so it's almost like for some, the weight room is like a little shoulder to rest on and like a justification. Oh, I can't make it to the weight room. I can't move today. In reality, we have our floor. The first ever weight room, right? The first thing at our disposal for any weight room requires a floor. Like, you can do a billion things there, right? But we don't think that way. That's not how we think. The problem is people expect energy to come to them. However, you have to create it. And in order to create it, you have to make the conscious action of saying, my mindset's bullshit. Despite how I feel, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to say onwards. I'm going to go ahead and step into that weight room. I'm going to mentally dive into my training and try to put some movement behind the meaning. Why am I moving today? Well, today I can't lift 1,000 pounds, but my hips feel tight. I feel achy. Let's do some movement. Let's do some mobility. Motion is lotion, right? Even if it's slow, ugly, or inconvenient, it's just the simple aspect of stepping forward and saying onwards is so much healthier for you to just sit up, sit in the floor, start stretching, start moving. Go walk up the stairs a few times. For those who can, do some push-ups, do a few squats. It really does matter. And also, it's like, you have to get the energy you want. Don't wait for it. Create it. The expectation that you're going to magically feel, you and I, are going to feel like the perfect energy is just going to funnel into my brain and I'll be excited to work out. That doesn't happen. You have to create the feel good. You have to create the lubrication in your joints. You have to create limberness and happiness and health. You have to create it. If not, you deteriorate, move or expire. Dare I say discipline? It's more than that. It's more of like the devotion, right? We've talked about that. You have to tell yourself why. And if you have meaning behind why you're doing it, it's a little bit easier to make that conscious action of saying onwards, despite how I feel. There's this quote, like, discipline is the ability to execute despite how you feel, but devotion's kind of like, devotion takes it down a notch, makes it a bit more personal, where it's not about meaning. It's just simply about not stopping, because that's the choice of who you're going to be. Today's a great example for me. If I had, if I didn't have the experience I had, if I didn't have the knowledge base that I had, if I hadn't had you guys or this podcast, one, I wouldn't be doing this today. I don't want to. Like, at the end of the day, you do have to sit down and you have to set aside time, and my selfish ass will, of course, find reasons to not do it. That's it. Just had a conversation the other day, but I was like, man, I really set the stage where I have to do a podcast every single week, and for a while I thought it was negative, but in reality, the truth is that this is a discipline that's necessary in my life, where I have to step forward and say onwards, and I have to make the conscious action of doing it despite how I feel, and all the weight that I'm carrying, and all the burdens that are in my life, all the shit I have to get done. I have to carry that weight and do it regardless. Today I was doing a upper body day, and was doing like 225 pounds on the bench, like 4 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 4, one of the two. And I had a really bad neck tweak. Like, warmed up for 20 minutes. I felt really good. I felt really good today going into it. And it's just funny how you can do the same thing, and one day your nervous system or your body just reacts differently. It's a different stimulus. It wasn't ready for it, or, maybe it's just one of those days. I was racking the bench, and I guess I had looked up, and for some reason my neck tweaked and my entire upper body shut down. If you can see me, I'm like kind of having a hard time turning, and I'm having to sit up really, really tall. I'm actually leaning back. I'm usually way closer to you guys, but I genuinely can't lean forward because I have a burning sensation in my mid-back and neck. And that would, if I had to speculate, not being able to see underneath me, I'd imagine I have like a pinched nerve or whatever that means, right? Or I just have a really bound up, like, shoulder girdle somewhere. It's a very deep intrinsic muscle, but damn, it's annoying. But it made me not want to finish that day, but I did a little bit of exploration. I know the nervous system's a big component of how, like, your body reacts, and so I had to evaluate, is this an injury? And it wasn't. I'm not injured. It was just a weird, subtle response. And so I got my foam roller out and a lacrosse ball, and I laid on that spot for about 2 minutes and just gently breathed into each direction. I let my tissue work around that tension. I did some isometric holds in a chin-up. And what I was hoping to do is get this, it's called a contraction relaxation method, but essentially you bound up the tissue so tight, you get it so tense, you have all of this neural facilitation, all these motor units turning on. And then if that works in different ranges of motion throughout the entirety of that range of motion, sometimes it'll help release the tissue. So I did that, and I ended up getting through that workout. It's still a little tight now, just as everything is after that workout. But that's a great example, real time, today, where I had to make a conscious action of, like, do I stop? And there is always going to be this sudden application of fear, where it just kind of jumps at you. My first thought, oh God, what was that? What is that? I racked it. I hardly could sit up. It kind of took my air away. It hurt so bad for a moment that I almost got dizzy. And I sat there. I was breathing for a second. The body keeps the score. And I know that. And so this is funny. When I feel like this, I think about, okay, when's the last time and when have I felt like this? And I remember a very specific moment in my jiu-jitsu journey where I was training with this guy. He was a brown belt at the time. No gi, meaning we weren't wearing our pajamas, right? We weren't wearing our gis. And he had me in what's a Darce choke, but my neck was kind of tilted, and it's called like a neck crank. So I was kind of stuck in like what was a neck crank. And I remember that reaction, that super forceful grab of the tissue at my neck. And I remember being so stiff I couldn't even look up and down correctly. My neck would like look up and left. Like I couldn't just extend my neck. It had to go at an angle. And, I'm sure I had a little bit of herniation or something in my neck, which I'm not too worried about. But it's funny. If the body does keep the score, and I bet it does, especially when there's reinforcement and familiarity with motor patterns and sensations and positions. Today, when I was looking up, racking that bench press, the same exact feeling, the same exact tweak in the same exact position. And so, is that an injury or is that like memory that I have to address and slowly reinforce the idea and convince my nervous system that this position is something that's okay? And so what I'm going to do is forcefully, every single workout, I'm going to put myself in that range of motion and start putting some load into it gently and start reinforcing my brain, my body, my nervous system that that's okay. But that has to take conscious action, and despite of the pain, the feelings, the stress, I'm going to choose to say onwards. This, because I'm educated, I know my body, and this is what I believe. And so it worked out today. Cheers. Didn't feel good, but it is what it is. So, kind of got through the physical. To sum that up, if this helps, sometimes, guys, you have to create the thing you're wanting. And it's not just, money doesn't work that way too, or money does work that way, but it's not just money that works that way. If you want to feel better, you have to go chase that energy, and you have to create it. So all those endorphins and serotonin and all those good things, you got to earn it. So part 2 is the mentality, the mental aspect of it, how to think. What does onwards mean, and with our mind? Well, as we know, like 10 minutes of movement, get up, do something. It helps with clarity, right? So movement in general, that mindset helps you clear kind of like the mental fog sometimes. Sunday mornings, I'm very much, I'd say, mentally clouded. I sit on the couch, I'll watch Love Island or some brain rot TV show that I love, and then I'll feel kind of gross and cloudy because I'm scrolling and then watching television, just consuming, and I realize I need to go move. Then I go work out and I feel fantastic. So yeah. People have said that a lot of the best work has been done in people's lowest times. Like sometimes, I think, was it Bukowski and Hunter Thompson, some of those writers, they were not cynical or pessimistic perhaps, but maybe just a little bit more honest. But you could tell like they definitely dealt with like turmoil, which also was a really fantastic way for them to express a beautiful writing. And it's kind of interesting when we get in those low mental states without moving, right? Move or expire. Not everything is true. For some, they can express words that are beautiful and meaningful. However, in a lot of cases, what we're telling ourselves in those really low states are lies. For me, it's like, I'm not getting anywhere with my work. This is stupid. Having not done any work that day, right? Or we sit down on the couch and we're scrolling, like, I'm just not getting anywhere in my profession, or I was in better shape, or it's not worth it. I feel like shit. Or some people in the fitness industry in particular, people will sit down and start snacking, and they'll just be sitting down and vegging out, and they'll be like, I'm so fat. Like, it just seems like in these low moments, we say I'm broken, or what's the point? But really, it's this lack of movement. It's lack of action. And it's kind of like the dead end. And so, what does onwards mean mentally? Well, it's like, don't attach yourself to every thought. Choose conscious action of thinking a little bit deeper. Don't mistake emotions for truth. Take a step back. The conscious action of sitting in it and then compartmentalizing emotions and thoughts is very important. And so With those two things, why did those happen? Well, it's because we're stagnant and we may not have something to work towards, or maybe we do and we're choosing not to. Well, keep your aim. Stay aimed at something. Even if it's blurry. I wrote this on my website. If you've not checked it out, guys, buriedinthebones.com, I talked about the man in the mirror. But I've referenced myself to this a lot. And I still do. I've always seen an image of motivation about a person I can be and the person I want to be. And I feel like I can see it. And I know it's me. And I know that person's like powerful and like good and like the man I want to be. But the vision, it's like he's the standing, me is on the other side of what is opaque glass. So damn, I know it's me, clear as day, but the image is not yet clear. But that's what I'm aiming for. There was this quote, imagine who you can be and then aim single-mindedly at that every fucking day. It's my favorite quote in the world. There's another good one. Viktor Frankl, here we go. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I'll say that again. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. What does that mean to you? Well, if you're in a situation you don't like it, change it. If you can't change it, change what you think about it. That's a good way to put it. But what it requires is not the mentality, but the conscious action of making that decision. Okay, if I can't change my situation, what can I change? Great. I just hit this brick wall. Now I have to change course. Great. Onwards. I love it. In medieval times, it's like William Wallace, right? Leading the charge. So courageous. It's what a leader says. It's what you can say. And it's what I hope that I say in the stressful, most stressful, depending moments where people look up to me. I think if you make the conscious action, that is what is movement. And if you move, clarity follows. Every step I take, I get a little bit closer to seeing just a sliver of that opaque glass open up. Getting closer. Getting closer. Yeah, you don't have to have the clear image and or the answer. I think we just need like orientation. A proper one. You know, the classic saying, a bad plan is better than no plan at all. At least a bad plan presents an orientation and a direction to follow. You can't, and I feel like Buried in the Bones is a great example, you can't really think yourself into action. It's like when I think of everything that I've built thus far, and it'll continue to grow, I know it will. A lot of what I'm doing is thinking. Perhaps what I need to be doing is like taking that conscious moment and presenting the action of saying onwards, and like stop overthinking and paralyzing myself with thoughts and just put some actionable work and meaningful work into what I want to grow. Paralysis by analysis is such a funny thing because it happens to me all the fucking time. You know, through action, you have to move yourself into clarity. But if you just sit there, you're just going to keep getting, you know, the vision's always going to be blurry. You're always going to be in the mirage of your own thoughts, and it's always confusing. It really is. We won't know until we make movement. Bad plan's better than no plan at all. And I stand on that. So, We've kind of talked about the physical. We've talked about the mental, I suppose. My favorite part of it is how this word makes me feel. It was kind of hard to put those two things together because it had to be a little bit more applicable and practical. And to me, this word speaks more to the spirit of the human and the character. So, what does onwards mean in its endurance? And what does endurance mean? It means you love yourself. And if you love yourself, you're way more capable of loving other people. It's about devotion. It's not discipline. It's action. It's like the reason why I'm here today, showing up, because it is devoting to my future self. It's a devotion to myself that, and a investment in who I want to become and perhaps where I want me and my family to be. And I have to say onwards, despite how I feel, despite like growth happening or not happening the way I wish I wanted it to. The naivety of what I believed I could grow something to in such a short time frame. Showing up when you're not being rewarded for it. Damn, that's tough. How many people feel that in a workspace? But when you let that get to your head and you're feeling unappreciated, truly, the worth of you as a person is only depreciated by the action of allowing that to stop your momentum. That person doesn't realize that stopped momentum, or you, when you stop and you show up to work and you're tired of feeling unappreciated and you choose to crash out or whatever the hell, the truth is that like you've allowed this person to have enough power to stop you from having at least one day of getting closer to who you're becoming. They've taken that away from you. Perhaps we just say onwards. Oh, you don't see that in me? That's okay. I see it in me. Someone's going to see it in me. And today I'm just going to do my best. The 4 agreements. Right? Always do your best. How do you say onwards? When you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. When you are dealing with things that have caused trauma. Things that you feel unappreciated. Things that have not been seen. You're not getting applauses. There's no visible progress. The only thing you really have is commitment. Yours. To you. To the person you see in that opaque glass. The image, the blurry image, the unclear but clear. You know it's you, just how do I get a little bit closer to merging into that person that you're going to become? Just commitment and fortitude, because it's hard. Here's a quote. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. Jordan Peterson. I don't even know anymore if I need to specify or tell people, well, he's a little polarizing, so if you don't like him, I don't care. It's like, I don't care. So if it's a good quote and the message is meaningful and it's appropriate for everyone, get over it. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. Jordan Peterson. To stand up straight with your shoulders back. It's funny. You walk into a global gym these days, it's like a lot of the global gym guys are like shoulders back, freaking. They're moving with their spine. That hurts. Ow. That wasn't good. Yeah, you see them standing up straight, shoulders back, walking like this. Can't even walk through a door, right? They turn like a top. Arms don't move, just their entire body at one time. That's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about posture. Physical. By nature, of course, if you move and stay onwards enough, you'll have good posture, but you'll probably move better because you're not just working on your back, and you're not here to fill the ego. You're here to express your movement, right? But Jordan Peterson's not talking about physical posture. He's talking about your posture in the presence of what is unknown. Burdens. Who you are behind closed doors. Didn't really plan this, but the next quote goes right along with what I just said. The purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it anyways. Jordan Peterson. And it makes sense. Meaning is the weight that you choose to carry and not escape. The story of a victor and not a victim. And I had to think about that. The purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it anyways. Meaning is the weight you choose to bear. It's also how you express your strength as underweight, right? How you think is how strong you are in those moments, and you say onwards. So all these things, mind, movement, meaning, spirit, physical, mental, it all applies. In my life, it's like, okay, if the purpose of life is having the largest burden you can bear and bearing it, it's like, okay, well for me personally, it's like, the largest burden I can bear for me is the accumulation of all that I've lost in people. And perhaps careers that I wanted to embark on, or relationships. Everything that I feel I've lost weighs on me. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. Just as you have lost or have experienced perhaps some of the worst that this life has to offer. What next? For me, my choice is to take those things. I want to carry it, and I want you to see it, and I want you to feel it. That despite life's sufferings and the weight that it wants to put on my shoulders, even if I have to crawl, I will continue to move and say onwards. And hopefully, the message that I can to give to you based on my life experience thus far is enough to help you take what you have to bear, and I can help you learn just a little bit of how you can take a couple steps forward, even if you have to fucking crawl. Your meaning is in the weight you choose to bear. All these things that happen to you, instead of it happening to you, it happens for you to then take it and use that as a way for your character to say, oh, I know what you've done in life. And what you did was you came at me with this, yet I choose to take it, and now I'm going to walk with it because now it's a part of me, and I get to express gratitude, love, and joy despite how it makes me feel. Avoidance takes those things off your shoulders. But what you lose is endurance and strength. Everything we're avoiding, less weight on our shoulders, but we become weaker. We don't have to walk as far. Just like strength training and fitness. Voluntary hardship with purpose in mind. Onwards. Right? Voluntary hardship with purpose in mind in our lives, in our spirit, is taking those people you've lost and those people that you may be missing. Or maybe those people aren't even lost, but they're lost emotionally and they're not in your life anymore. Voluntarily take that hardship and walk with it. Learn your lesson of endurance. gain your strength. Now you get to take that. Despite what that person took from you, you have now incorporated it into your soul. And now you have the character to say, onwards. Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that person requires suffering. Suffering through something real, and then taking that and finding meaning underneath it. The meaning is in the weight you choose to carry. And now because of that weight you choose to carry, you have this purpose. And this purpose is how you then get to present and add value into the world. It's that simple, but so damn complicated. It's painful. It's endurance. It's love. Within that pain, it's like as you're crawling, or maybe you're walking, or you got a little bit strong, or maybe you're jogging because you're a tank, right? With all the burdens you're carrying. And because of how good your endurance may be. But the pain has essentially carved a space for what your endurance and strength has to fill. And now that space is filled with positive attributes and characteristics, internal things that are manifested outwardly. Pain, strength, endurance, love, all of it. I was going to tell a story here, but I think you're looking at it, you're listening to it. This is my story. The story for me to tell you right now is that this is the active work of what I just explained. Those I have lost, and what I have lost, and what I have experienced, and what I have seen may exceed what that of some 27-year-olds may experience, or that of older people, and that's okay. You can take that. I have taken that. I will grieve the way I need to, just as you should. I will accept its weight, and I hope for more, because I can learn. I may go through trials and tribulations along my way, but I won't have to crawl anymore. Maybe I'll learn how to stand up. And help teach everyone that the only reasonable action is onwards. Despite life's sufferings and burdens, and no matter what it throws at your and my way, that we will have the character, strength, and endurance to say onwards. So, how do you end that? Well, like I said, onwards is action. So it doesn't mean you're healed. It doesn't mean you're like, now you have all the answers. You just get a little bit closer to that vision, or that person that you see on the other side of the opaque glass. You're a little bit closer. Perhaps we will never get there, but we will always get a little bit closer. That provides more meaning, and thus we get to present better things into this world. But what it does mean is that you're still moving. And you're still delivering and thinking and carrying something that matters. I feel like a lot of us need motivation. And maybe you feel motivated after this. Could be a good prerequisite to now applying it. However, physical, mental, spiritual, we just need reps. Every time we make that choice, it's a rep. We need to breathe and give ourselves some grace when we let ourselves down. However, most importantly, we need to differentiate what is mindset and just action. It's not a mindset anymore. It's just who you choose to be. How you move, how you think, how you endure, how you look at life in the face and take what it has to give you, carry it on your shoulders and say onwards. Got a few questions for you guys to take on with you. Where have you stopped where you could have kept going? And are you in that position now? Are you avoiding any weight that could give your life some structure and meaning? And if you took this action and this tool, this character builder, onwards, what would it look like if you applied it in your life mentally, physically, and spiritually? Where have you stopped where you could have kept going? Are you in that now? What weight are you avoiding that might give you structure and meaning? And what would it look like for you, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to apply this beautiful tool of onwards? How would that look like? There's only one way to find out. This was the Buried in the Bones podcast, episode 22. Move, think, endure. That's what onwards really means. See ya.